Good morning, everybody. We're going to talk about job prospects, job hunting, uh, and why self improvement, constant self improvement for the purposes of finding a decent job is pointless at this branch in the road. Anyway, let's get into it. First and foremost, right off the top, the reality is that most people for the longest time have been locked into this mindset of, again, just do this one thing and your life will change. Get your degree in X, get your degree in Y, and you look at college advertising, it's the same. Oh yeah, everybody's happy, everything goes smoothly, everybody finds their success. But they don't. They don't. The official underemployment rate's like 41.6%. We've got tons of qualified, skilled, trained people who cannot get decent paying jobs with their degrees. Now, given some people did indeed get their degrees in fluffy bunny studies, and obviously they're not going to find too much success with that. But we also have petroleum engineers, software engineers, including myself, petroleum engineers, software engineers, architectural engineers, the people who do the math and actually make the things happen. Increasingly more and more of those higher end, thought heavy, all right, thought and science and math heavy fields are useless. All right, and it's even supposedly happening to nursing degrees as well, which is troubling because nursing and healthcare generally has been, if all else fails, you can't fail being a doctor. Apparently, a little less than half of the doctors that have been trained in the past couple years are all looking to get out of being a doctor anymore. And it's just like, holy shit. You guys have like $250,000 to $1 million student loans, don't you? How in the hell can you ever not be a doctor? And that's where the trap really is. In just a minute. If you go for something high end that costs a fortune and you have a massive time investment into it, you are chained to that shit until you die. All right? That's the whole point of college now and college loans. They sell you a dream, they get you to borrow a fuck ton of money. And you may actually, if you go to be a doctor or a dentist, you may actually end up being a doctor or a dentist. It's a very useful, transferable skill. You could take it to literally any country on the face of the planet, and people need you. All right? But you will forever be enchained to that debt. What good does it do you when you are paying down massive amounts of interest every single check you get? All right, like if a quarter of your earnings, let's say you otherwise would could have made 20 an hour. If you're somehow making let's say 30 and all of that goes to interest, was the degree worth a damn or are you exactly where you were before? People don't pay attention to this. All right, a lot of people early on, it's not necessarily that they believe the line of bullshit that comes from the colleges. It's not just that they believe in the success, it's the fact that they really want to believe that there's a way out of the terrible fucking jobs in the Western countries. People really want to believe that there's a way out, and for some people, there is. For some people, there is. But those people also tend to have connections and ways of getting in places that other people don't. And it's a lot of the things that people don't see. It's like you see successful people prancing around online. And it's the same thing with, millennials and Gen Z with Facebook and Instagram, where it's just like, yeah, they have sponsors. They have sponsors. They've got mommy and daddy's money backing them. They've got some kind of support that you don't see. All right. There are a handful of very successful people. Okay. Not all of that success is a fair gotten gain. All right. What people, and this is one thing, even though I won't necessarily go out there and tell people to lie on their resumes, a while back I absolutely would. I absolutely would. Now, is there a risk to that? Absolutely. You don't lie and tell, the hospital that you've completed your doctorate or whatever and that you're clear to work. You obviously don't lie for jobs that have actual lives on the line, but bending the facts in order to get into a job that you're mostly being kept out of for bullshit. Uh, I totally support people lying to get those kind of jobs. All right, like the idea, like increasingly, even now, it's like warehouses in particular. There are some warehouses who honestly expect, if you don't have any experience, they honestly expect you to go out and get a degree in logistics. Like, what? You are not putting a shit warehouse job behind a fucking college paywall. I don't give a shit what the hell the companies say. Fuck that. Fuck them and their bullshit. That is straight bullshit. Because the truth of the matter is anybody who's ever had to work for a warehouse in their life knows it's an extension of fucking middle school. All right? It's drama and who's fucking who and problems constantly. All right? But you're constantly sold the line of self improvement, self improvement, self improvement. And even I fully back the idea of self improvement, but not for a company. This is the thing. This is where I split from all of that. At one point, I thought it was reasonable to, on the concurrently whilst you're actually working during your normal working life, developing skills on the side that you can use to hopefully get you higher pay later on, or possibly, just possibly, land you a promotion with the company that you're working for. All right. That changed. That changed post COVID, especially because the reality is one, promotions are a fucking trap. All right. And there's no way of getting around it. Like 80-90% of promotions in a company are a trap. All right. One famous one, you essentially get all of the. Okay. Imagine this. Imagine that for a little bit more an hour, you end up becoming let's say, a trainer of some kind. All right. So now you're responsible. You have all the responsibilities to watch after somebody, constantly be up their ass, trying to train them to operate safely and do the job well. And you have companies that are just opening the floodgates and trying to get anybody possibly in they can, including the drunks, the drug addicts, the fiends, the degenerates, people who are legitimately mentally disabled. All right, like literally anybody that they can find. You have all of the responsibilities, but you have zero authority in the hiring and training process. All right. So for an extra shekel or two, all of a sudden now you have a gigantic wall of responsibilities, a massive amount of information to cram into somebody's head that may not be receptive to it. And on top of it all, if you are in the position where you're supposed to train somebody and you're sitting there and you cannot get a single thing to stick in their brain because they're quietly going out on their break and they're smoking and they're getting high. You have no authority, so you can't be like, no, dude, we can't have you high as shit, operating industrial machinery. We can't have that. All right. You try to go to your immediate superiors and they're like, nah, give XYZ person a chance. All right. And it's just like, this dude is a rolling OSHA violation. Like, this is a catastrophe waiting to fucking happen. What the fuck do you mean, give the guy a chance? All right. And if anything goes wrong, if anything really fucking bad happens, because they expect you to train somebody who's higher than fuck, if something bad happens whilst they're operating industrial machinery, that falls on you. Even though you mention it like this dude's fucking out of his mind. Like we got to get this fucking guy out of here before he fucking kills somebody. They don't care. But it's on you. All of the risk, all of the responsibility is on you for a shekel or two better. All right? In terms of pay. That's what most of the promotions are like. That's what most job promotions are like. You get an extra shekel, you take on way too many responsibilities, and in addition to taking on all those responsibilities, you get absolutely zero say or authority because all of the authority is held in the highest echelons of the organization. And they will use diversity against you. They will use anything against you to come up with an excuse to why they will not, give in to obviously reasonable, bucking. Anyway, you can go through and self improve for the possible benefit of a company. They're not going to give you shit for it. They're not going to elevate your pay to a reasonable level. They're not going to uprank you in the company. In most cases, if you want to get better pay, and this is the same deal with the Gen Z, they're pretty known for it. You want better pay, you stick around at a company for 6 months to a year, then you go to their competition. Maybe you come back at a higher rate because companies will spend more money trying to find people and get them through the door than they will ever spend trying to keep the people they have happy and actually rewarding them for sticking around and doing a decent job. And this is the thing, if you stay at a company for roughly it's a year and a half, 2 years, there's this switchover where this is like the long-term honeymoon period. There's this switchover where all of a sudden you're not valued anymore. They start to actively resent you even though you come to work every day and do your job. Regardless, when it comes to skilling up, if you want to get into anything right now, all right, if you want to skill up or train or develop yourself in any realm right now, don't do it for the money. All right, like if you want to get into nursing right now, nursing's looking like it's next on the chopping block. All right. From reports that I've been hearing, it's getting rougher out there. Nursing's next up on the chopping block. So, do you really want to take the risk and borrow $10,000 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 to go get, whatever fucking degrees and certifications to become a CNA and LPN? Well, they've got a lot of different letter designations. It's ridiculous for medicine. But do you really want to take the risk and jump through the hoops and put up with God knows what level of bullshit that you're going to have to put up with in order to still, at the end of it, somehow end up making even less money? All right. Whether it's the cost of the student debts that knock your earnings down for 20, 30 years, and these are your prime earning years. All right. That you're thinking about going to college and jumping through these hoops. Do you really want to go through all of that bullshit and all of the headache and all of the stress and all of the drama to have to grind away for 10, 5, 10, 15, 20 years trying to pay back, especially for medical, all of that student debt, only to have missed out on all of those earnings, paying off the interest and paying down some of the principal? Or would you rather work at Wendy's and then jump to Burger King and then back to Wendy's and jump to Burger King? Like, honestly, it's the thing. The shit jobs are the bastion of stability now, which is really fucked up to say, but it's the truth. Like, any job that is asking you to go out of your way to get certifications, paperwork, degrees, they don't honestly need these fucking degrees. They don't, the majority of these jobs, they don't need the degrees, they don't need those skills. They just want to be able to pimp out the fact that they've hired all of these skilled people. And, to a certain extent, it's marketing, but at the same time, these companies will run you through the ringer and they will let you put yourself into a financial tailspin. All right. So they can hire you for the same rate that you can get. It's a common one with truck drivers. One of the things when I was still working in the warehouses, and it's still this bad for drivers, the rates are so low for freight right now that what ends up happening is most of these truck drivers eventually, after bouncing around, delivering and picking up loads from certain warehouses, they end up leaving the truck behind and saying, fuck the CDL. And they go and work for the warehouses because the warehouses are legitimately, when you adjust for all the costs, the warehouses are paying people more money to load and unload containers than these guys are getting for moving them across the fucking country. All right. This same rule applies. Like, you can get higher pay. It is out there. You can get higher pay, but you don't want to jump through hoops and financially suicide yourself trying to keep companies happy when in the end they're not even actually hiring for the jobs. All right, give me a minute. This is a big one with software engineering and tech right now. You see tech jobs now, obviously, as soon as ChatGPT dropped and all the others, you see these companies putting up listings on all the major job platforms, and we just found out like 80% of the jobs, if not more, on LinkedIn are fake. Because a certain amount of companies putting jobs up is to create the image that they're doing well. All right, they create the image that they're stable, that they're financially okay. If a company can still afford to hire people, obviously they have extra money coming in that can afford the people and cover, actual earnings growth. So they create the illusion. Now, honestly, this is probably going to bite a lot of companies in the ass because it's essentially false advertising to investors. and eventually it's going to become a labor rights problem. It's going to get bad. It is going to get bad. But you've got companies out there trying to create the illusion that they're growing. But then you also have companies out there who are specifically looking for, like entry level went from 0 to 2 years experience for software development and programming to 3 to 5 years of experience. And it's just like, well, fuck, if you're just starting out, you don't have 3 to 5 years experience. That experience trap what the companies are doing. And then on top of that, for 3 to 5 years experience with toolkits that are like tech stacks that are so fucking massive, it's just like there is no fucking way. There's no fucking way in hell that you guys have a tech stack that fucking deep. And if you do, you guys fucked up massively. All right? You do not need that many different fucking languages and tools to do the job. What the fuck? All right? And trust me, I've seen it many times. But what most of the tech companies are doing, that they'll put up a massive tech stack, they'll demand 3 to 5 years experience now, and they're offering 40 grand a year, 50 grand a year. They're offering salaries that you can beat that working for a Coca-Cola warehouse. All right. You can literally beat that working for the warehouse. You can beat that working as a driver for Coca-Cola, for a Coca-Cola distributor. All right. You can literally beat that. Why are the pay rates so low? Because 3 to 5 years experience, especially with tech stacks, like that heavy, you're talking about $120,000 a year employee right there. All right, maybe you start them at 80, but you quickly get them up to six figures, maybe six and a half. You get them up to 150K. All right, like those people are in demand. All right, you can't just pay them a pittance. The point is to not have you apply. They don't actually want you to apply, and very few people do. All right, there are people who are desperate to fucking use their software engineering degrees, but the point is to not have you apply so they can go whining and crying to the government to get a rubber stamp for H-1B visas where they can bring in Indians who have probably less skills and training than you do as an American, so they can flood in these freshies, as the Indian bosses prefer to call them. You bring in all of these freshies who know damn near nothing and will probably break the systems and the servers and the programs multiple times a day. But you bring them in and you pay them 20 to 30 grand a year. All right. And this is how the country works now. This is how the country works now. This is also the reason why you have to be working on something on the side for yourself. All right. Don't learn, like, languages is a perfect example. Don't go out and learn another language to better your company. Go out and learn a language because you want to learn it, and you might want to move to that country where things might be better. Like right now, if you were to look at Europe, all right, there is one country in Europe that's head is not up its ass, okay, and it's Poland. So if you learn Polish, go to Poland, you'll probably make out reasonably, all right? They're not flooding in migrants. They're actually protecting their own people, not just their people on a physical basis, but they're protecting their people on a financial and economic basis. That's the kind of country you want to live in if you want to be a productive tax-paying member of society. You don't want to work in the US where they're constantly undermining wages to prop up these fucking bloated, ginormous fucking... Oh, God. Stay Puffed Marshmallow has nothing. Has fucking nothing. on American corporates. They're not even American anymore, they're international. But the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man has nothing on the bloat and just disgusting nature of Western corporations. It's got nothing on it. You can't call the Ghostbusters to fix this. You can't unfuck the situation. They have, when you look at it on a broad scale, they have sent every single fucking job and machine and opportunity they could to China, to India. They're, oh, good Lord. What is it? Another perfect example. Again, we come to the accountants. It is not a smart idea to become an accountant. I mean, it is at base, but it's not. Like, if you want to become an accountant, the best thing you could do is become an accountant in the US, move to fucking Chile. I'm not even joking. All right? Because an American accountant cannot compete with, I don't know if it's happened yet, but I know it's right around the corner. They are rubber stamping Indian schools to provide certifications. So if you train to be an accountant in India, you will be rubber stamped to also work United States standards. All right. So American accountants are going to have to directly compete with Indian accountants on their home turf. All right. On our home turf, American accountants are going to be combating and fighting against Indian accountants who are going to be rubber stamped to operate in the US market. The Philippines already does this. Most of the major accounting corporations, they don't hire American accountants. All of the big names, you know what they do? They dumped their roles. They purged as many of their people as possible, and they set up a PayPal account. They fund it. They pay Filipinos $10 an hour to do accounting for the major US corporations. All right. When the job is done, these companies send the money, they wire the money through PayPal and through other means as well, but PayPal is pretty easy. Through PayPal to all of these foreign contractors, quote unquote, and these foreign contractors don't pay their local taxes. This is the best part. This is the best part, and this is why it's the preferred method. The people who are working in the Philippines on American corporate taxes, they're making decent money doing it. $10 an hour over there is pretty fucking good. All right? They're not paying any taxes on it. And the American corporates also don't have to fucking cover Social Security and all the other tax costs. They don't have to worry about workers' comp for if somebody breaks their ass on a keyboard. They don't have to worry about any of that shit. Like, this is the thing. If you live in the West, your future was packaged and fucking sold out a long time ago. A long time ago. But if you learn accounting in the United States and you go to Chile, you can afford to work for less. And this is part of a grander picture. They're trying, the system is actively trying to dump as many skilled, trained professionals. Meanwhile, they're all whining and complaining that they don't have enough. But when your standard of living is better being an American accountant in Chile versus being an American accountant in America, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? You can live in a shack or live in a car in the United States, or you can live somewhat decently moving to Chile and hoping not to run into the Chilean communists. All right? This isn't a joke. This is real life. All right? Don't jump through fucking hoops because the corporations, these companies, don't want you in the first place. All right? The way that corporations look at American labor, at Western labor. It's an unfortunate cost of doing business, and they are trying like hell through every mechanism and means possible to eliminate your job. Just at base. Just at base. All right. I've worked for companies where they have literally half of their workforce. Now, given they did this because Amazon did it. All right. When it comes to the warehouses, once again, you flood in, you make half of your workforce a different color. All right. Doesn't matter where you get them from. But you fly in, help them with their, documentation, their paperwork so they can operate and work in the country. You make half of your workforce brown, all of a sudden the chances of a union forming drop significantly. All right? These movements, this constant front running to try to fuck you is done constantly and intentionally. They'll come up with excuses to cover their ass, but that's exactly why things are the way they are. I have heard managers bitch and complain that, all the little brown people that higher up corporate has brought in, they're not following the rules, they're not doing their job, they're fucking off constantly. Every time they get in trouble for something, it gets covered up and washed away. Because the last thing that corporate wants, all right, the last thing that corporate wants is to risk the potential creation of a union. All right, they do not want it. They do not want it because they know damn well that at the corporate level that the things that they're doing to short and scrimp and fuck over their workforces are egregious. And the only way that they can continue to fuck over their workforces is if they do everything they can to prevent unionization. And again, this is not me saying that I prefer unions. A lot of unions are fucking scummy. They're scummy, they're crooked, they're criminal. They're just as bad as the corporations, all right? The huge lot of them. But you should not, coming back to the fucking point, you should not be jumping through hoops to hopefully impress an employer. If you want to impress an employer, all right, take out your hair tie, assuming you have long hair. Take out your hair tie, stuff your bra, and waltz right in. I am dead serious. The winning strategy for a lot of these jobs is blonde white woman with big fake tits. I wish I was kidding, but women will get what they want. And the entire structure, they run into legal risk, companies, if they don't hire a certain amount of women. And they have to promote a certain amount of women. They have to keep up, just to keep government oversight off their ass when it comes to discrimination. All right, they are much more likely to pump up and promote females, especially with big tits, than they are to pump up and promote a black dude. All right, the company in particular that flooded half of their workforce, the other side of the equation was as long as they keep half of their workforce brown, they can get away with saying that they have an incredibly high diversity quota. All right, that they've not just met, but they've massively exceeded their diversity quotas. And it looks good. It looks good. Don't forget that there was still this massive push for ESG, and it still kind of exists. All right, ESG is kind of taking a back seat. And if Trump were to run into a high velocity problem that was successful, that would mean that ESG scores, all of that shit would come back. And they would push it really fucking hard. Just because it's another mechanism of control that they have over the people. And don't you ever forget the carbon they're trying to reduce is you when it comes to global emissions and standards and all of that shit. Anyway, the ideal position to be in, like if you want to get skilled or trained in something, that's fine. Get your prerequisites out of the way. Use something like a straighter line if the school that you're looking at will accept it. Knock out all of your prerequisites. It's not free. It is still pricey, but it's cheaper than doing it through the college. You can also use community colleges for this. You knock out the first couple years of prerequisites, the garbage, the fuck, what would be a perfect example? The African hypno music, whatever the fuck, art and culture, dumb shit, humanities. All right, knock all that shit out early, and then when it comes to actually going to college, getting the degree, dedicate every single fucking second to getting it as quickly as humanly fucking possible. If you can do it online, do it online. You don't want to have to fuck around with waiting for, this class conveniently starts at the beginning of the day, this one conveniently in the middle, this one conveniently at the end. So then you can't work full time anymore, and you have to somehow balance multiple fucking jobs while you're trying to do this. Ideally, you want to be working full time and getting through college as quickly as humanly fucking possible. And then once that's done, make sure do everything you got to do to get that debt down to fucking zero, and then figure out, is it smarter to stay in the United States and use this fucking degree, or would I make more money going to a foreign country, all right, and accepting payment in the much lower currency, but still having a better life? All right, you have to make these calculations. The United States population, as well as the population of the United Kingdom and all the others, the Western populations are being pushed out, financially speaking. You have to figure out which country is going to cut you the best deal. All right. American corporations don't care about you. The federal government does not fucking care about you. The only thing the federal government wants out of you is fucking taxes. Taxes, and keep your mouth shut. And maybe the occasional vote for the guys that, the people who are really in power put in front of you. Giant douche turd sandwich, to quote South Park. All right, those are your options. Those are your choices. And conveniently, the same people always win no matter who you pick. All right? You've got to look at this on a grand scale. All right, if you're not being rewarded in the West, go to the East. If you're not rewarded in the East, go South. Or find one of those weird jobs where you're stuck in a lighthouse for half the year. All right. Or a quarter of the year. Honestly, half the year would probably drive you insane, but it's a thing. One of those odd jobs, working North Sea oil rigs or working in a lighthouse where you make, or even, going down to Antarctica. You work a short amount of time, make a fuckload of money, you bank it, and do not spend it. And just keep focusing on that kind of shit. If you want financial freedom in the West, you have to move heaven and fucking earth for it. Because there are too many traps. The entire system is designed to bleed you and extort you for every single last fucking time. The entire system. It's designed to fuck you over on housing, on education, on everything. Literally everything. You start doing well, you're paying taxes higher than the billionaires. All right? America doesn't care about its people. Western Europe, especially, does not care about its people. All right. The real benefits in terms of how you can actually live your quote unquote best life, the real benefits to that come from moving to a poorer country because then you can afford to work for less and still live a decent lifestyle. Okay? Especially with how the fucking dollars collapsed. Jesus fucking Christ. You know, I talk about sketchy. Yeah, we're gonna literally let the dollar drop. The whole point of running your currency into the ground is to essentially stimulate exports. The problem is we don't have things to export. You know what the number one, I'm not even kidding, what the number one export, one of the number one exports of the United States was last year? Business consulting to foreign countries. Mm-hmm. That was the export. It's the funniest thing. I still know people who I have no shortage of detractors and people who think that creating a consultancy was a terrible idea. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Literally, do you see these numbers? There, it's the thing. Companies have their heads up their asses. Foreign companies are desperately, especially the foreign companies, they're desperately trying to grow. They're trying to branch out. Meanwhile, in the West, oh God, the West is one morphine drip not dropped from completely going into a schizophrenic meltdown and just every single thing that could be beeping and screeching and everything coming to a fucking halt. That's the thing, like the inflation's not going to stop. Offshoring and outsourcing is going to continue unless a person with who happens to be orange with blonde hair manages to, white slash blonde hair, um, whether it's real or fake, I don't care, happens to decide that, you know, it may be American companies that do business in the Western countries should have to actually hire from Western countries. But what about the corporate earnings? Bitch, we'll pull your corporate charter. How about that? You know, unless something like that happens, unless we get labor protectionism in the West, we're competing on a global labor force, on a global labor market. Americans can't compete with that. Normal Americans cannot compete with that. Brits, they can't compete with it either. It's just the reality. Get the education in the West, go anywhere else where they will treat you decently, or at the very least, have some fucking protections in place for their workforces. Learn what you want to learn, not for the money. All right. If you are going to do it for the money, then by all means, you know, find countries that treat you well. But when it comes to general learning and education and skill building, learn the skills you want to learn. Just go out and learn them on your own. You don't need college for this shit. Go out and learn them. Go out and read. Do what you got to do. Build up those skills. Do not expect a paycheck to follow behind any of them. If you do find yourself in the position where knowing 16 languages, all right, or knowing how to repair sonar equipment, maybe, if you do find yourself in the position where that is very useful and beneficial and there's a paycheck behind it, congratulations. You are like one in 10. You got 5-10% chance maybe. But for most skills development, there is not going to be a decent paycheck behind that. Learn what you want to learn because you want to learn it, not because there's a paycheck behind it. And then if you are really hell-bent on going out and becoming a doctor or something, do not, one, avoid the debt trap, avoid the fucking debt trap like the plague. And two, if you're really going to go out and get a degree, get training, educated, specifically just for the money, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not the country to use it in. You're gonna want, as long as you can knock out the debt and get that dealt with before you jump, you will probably make more money, or at the very least, have a better standard of living in any other country. Any other. But just not this one. Or Western Europe. Alright? Eastern Europe, maybe. Although it's a bit sketchy right now. You might be able to find success in sparse areas of Northern Europe. But generally, the global south is more so where you want to be. With that, this went on way longer than I expected it to, but if you're interested in personal or business consulting, stop by the site www.spadesconsulting.com without the dash and get in touch with us. If you are interested in more videos like this, we have a massive backlog, and I am trying to get us back to a video a day minimum. Like, share, subscribe, hype, do all the things, click the bell, ring the bell, flip the bell, whatever all of the TISM tasks are now. Do all those things if you want to see more. And if you're interested in written content, check out Substack. It is still lacking. I do not have a plan in place to catch up on that yet because I am still massively behind on certain other projects that I can't necessarily get into. You guys have a good one. I'll see you next time.